Hey everyone, it's TK Friday. On today's episode, I want to talk about the new version of the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. This is version 1.2.2. I'm going to take a look at some of the new features today, especially we're going to get a nice look at the TK8 My Actions panel. This is brand new. You're going to love it. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. Now available, a TK8 update. This is version 1.2.2. This is a major update. There's a sale going on right now, a great sale. There's a 20% discount. If you use my promo code DK15, that will give you a 20% discount. And I appreciate it if you use my code DK15. I guarantee you will get the 20% discount, but it keeps track of my affiliate sales. And when you do that, it helps my channel out, it helps me to grow, and it helps me to keep bringing these TK Friday videos your way. So I appreciate it when you do that. But this is also a free update for all of those out there that already own the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. So you don't want to miss out on this new update, especially the new My Actions panel, which is really awesome. And by the way, I'm going to link the Good Light Journal to you where you can read this blog post telling you all the new features. I'm going to go over some of these things today with you. I'll show you how to check to make sure you have the updated version. If not, you definitely want to get it if you own the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. Okay, and Sean Bagshaw has a video out as well. So you can click on the link to get his video and watch it. I highly recommend that you do that, but it's going to tell you all the new features here, so you don't want to miss out on this. I want to start out by going over the new My Actions panel, which I think you're really going to enjoy. This is brand new. You know, I really appreciate what Tony Kuiper has done with this new panel, and it enables you to organize all your actions. I mean, you can put as many actions in here as you want to, which is really cool. And if you had actions programmed up into some of these buttons up here, which I did before, you can go ahead and reset those. If you have an action and you want to reset it back to the default, just Command or Control click on the button and click the reset button. That'll reset it back to what was there originally. And I love that because I had some of my actions up in these areas here and I was missing some buttons that I liked, but I sacrificed those to get my actions up in there, okay? But now I got the CX panel set back to its default setup. And it's really nice. You can nest this panel wherever you want it. I'm going to drag it out of here so we can see it more. But you notice it says TK8 My Actions. Now, I prefer the TK8 CX panel, but you also have, if you come up to plugins, and I'm sure most of you know this, but you also have the combo panel, which is a wider panel. So, you know, and again, you can nest these panels anywhere you want in Photoshop. I love that about Photoshop, so that's really cool. I'm actually glad I opened up the combo panel because you'll see here I have some actions in here like my before-after action, my depth map. And again, to reset these things, you just Command or Control click on them and click Reset. And you'll notice it went right back to what it originally was. Like my before and after action, I'll Command or Control click it. I have a Mac, so I'm doing a Command click, and I'll click Reset, and now it's back to canvas. And while I'm here, I'll just do a little cleanup. Lens blur. This launches the Photoshop lens blur filter. I'll Command or Control click this and reset that one, and also this neural filter. Command or Control click Reset, and now it's set back. Okay. But I don't use the combo panel, as I said. I prefer the CX, but whichever you like, it's all up to you. You know, that's one of the things I love about the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. It is so versatile, you can make it your very own. And especially now with this TK8 My Actions, this list, the way I understand it talking to Tony, this thing can be an unending list of actions. You might have hundreds of actions in here. I'm going to go ahead and X out the combo panel for now. Now, to add an action, you'll click the plus. To take an action away, if you want to get rid of an action, you're not using it, you'll click this button here. I'm going to get rid of an action. I'm going to get rid of this black and white action just to show you, and then I'll add it back. So let me click the negative here. And then all we need to do is choose an action to remove. So I'll click on the black and white, and now it's outlined in red. Click on the trash can. It's gone. To add an action back, all you have to do is click the plus here. find that action. Here's that black and white conversion. Click on this and then choose the action to add right here and click the plus. And there it is. It goes to the bottom of the list. Now you can right click on here and give them color codes. Like this is a black and white action. I'll click on this black block and now you'll notice it is color coded with black. And I also want to point out, you'll notice it goes to the bottom of the list. That's the way it works, but we can move these around. But I want to show you something else. If you add an action, and let's say I want to add this infinite color action here, and there's a bunch of different actions in here. Like I can click on each one of these. I can put a bunch of these in at once if I want to. But let's say I don't want lookup 5 and I clicked it by mistake. I can just click it again and it goes away. And then I may want to say, I want to go with this lookup 7 and lookup 8. Now it's very important. You have to hit this plus to actually put them in. And they'll go in that stack in that order. Okay. I don't want this action, so I'm just going to X out of here. But next I'm going to show you how we can move actions around. To move an action around, just Command or Control click on that particular action and then see the up and down arrow. So I'm going to shift this above the neural filters. So I'll click it once, I'll click it again, and now it's above there. And now I can click the X. Now, in case you're wondering, you can only move one action to a different position at a time. You can't select multiple actions. And here's a little tip for you. I prefer to color code my actions. Like see this yellow group here. These are all of my Topaz actions like Denoise AI, Sharpen AI, Gigapixel AI, and so on. These are my Luminar actions. They'll launch those filters. This is my Nick collection here. It'll launch these filters. This is my black and white action, my neural filter. It launches Photoshop's neural filter, and I have action to make a depth map, and then I can launch the lens blur. If you're interested in learning how to make an action to launch a plugin, I have a video showing you how to do that. Basically, it shows you how to make an action out of a menu item, like under like your filter menu here. You can make any of those into an action, which is really nice. So I'm going to link that at the end of this video in case you want to see how to do that. With this new My Actions panel, we have a little more real estate. So I named this when I was putting them into the CX panel. I didn't have a lot of space, so I may want to rename an action. Let me show you how you can do that. What you need to do is you need to come up to your actions and let's find like this Denoise AI, which is going to be under my menu items group. And I'm going to find it right here. So if I click on this, double click it, I can go ahead and name this Denoise. Well, I'm not going to put a capital in there. Capital letters take up more real estate in the My Actions panel. And especially I'm putting mine where the CX panel is, so I don't have that much room. So I got to be careful. So I'm going to just name this Denoise AI with just a capital at the beginning and a capital on the A for the AI. And now I'll just type return on my keyboard. And now it's renamed to Denoise AI. And while I'm at it, let me double click Sharpen AI and rename this to Sharpen AI. And I'll type my return key again, and now that's renamed. So I can get out of this action panel here. Now I need to add those two actions I renamed. So click on the plus key, and I'm going to find those in my menu items. So we're going to click here, TK8 menu items. And now I want to add Sharpen AI and Denoise AI. So I'll click those two and click the plus. And when I do that, you'll notice they come down to the bottom. Now, these actions will no longer be valid, so I need to get rid of them. So I can click on the negative, and I'll click on Denoise AI and Sharpen AI and click the trash can. That removes those two. And my Topaz color scheme is yellow, so I'm going to right-click on Denoise AI and click on the yellow block. I'll right-click on Sharpen AI, give it yellow. And now I'm going to move these up to the top. What I'll do to do that is, remember, we Command or Control click on the action. We can only do one at a time, so I'm going to hit my up button here as many times as it takes. I want this to go above Gigapixel AI, so I'll keep clicking till it gets there. And I'm going to Command or Control click on Denoise AI, and now I'm going to bring that up to the very top, because my workflow generally is to do Denoise before I do Sharpen AI. So that's, to me, a logical order. So think about this when you're organizing your My Actions panel, how you want to set it up to make your workflow a lot easier. And we're all going to have our own custom ways of doing things. And once you're done here and you got things moved, we can click the X here. But that's how easy it is. We just have to go up to Actions to rename it and then get rid of the old action and add the new action in. Now this My Actions panel is resizable, so we can, shrink it in if we want to. Or if I go like this and pull up, notice now I have a slide bar here. Because remember I told you can keep adding actions. You might have hundreds of actions. And like where my actions sit is over underneath my CX panel. And let me put it over there and I'll show you. And to get that in there, I come the whole way down to the bottom. See where it turns blue? And then I can take this and I can drag it the whole way up. You can just pull it hard up there and it'll stop right at the end of the CX panel, okay? And there you can see it. There are all my actions. But you notice Denoise AI, I have more real estate now, and I love it. And I put my before and after action at the top, which for me makes a lot of sense because I use that all the time, especially when I'm doing my TK Friday full edit tutorials. But that's the My Action panels. I think I pretty much went over everything except one thing I almost forgot to tell you. There is a flyout panel, and if you click right here, and it tells your version, and you can go to a video tutorial, different things here, copyright info. But here's an important one right here I want to point out, reload panel. If you ever have an action that you created, it worked before, but it's acting a little goofy, you can click this reload panel. I'm going to click this and watch that My Action panel. It'll flash for a second. You see that? And then try the action again. More often than not, it'll fix it. And Tony likes to call that the get out of jail free. So if you're having an issue, don't forget, click the flyout menu and click reload panel. That's a really good tip. You may want to write that down in your notes. And one more thing I want to mention is if you ever add an action, like let's do this black and white action, and you see all the different steps I have in this black and white action here. You can do a Command or Control Z to step back, or you can click this step back button and it'll get rid of that. Let me go ahead and add that action again, click it again, because I want to show you something. If you come up to your history, you'll notice that action is named black and white. So this is something new with Photoshop with UXP panels. It actually names that action, which is really cool. So you can just step back and get rid of that whole thing at one time. Like I can go back here to open and that action goes away. So that's kind of nice. Now, if I were to run that action from the actions panel, and here it is right here, and it's highlighted and I hit the play, it runs that action, but check it out in the history. I'd have to jump back all these steps here, but not so when you're running actions from the TK8 My Actions panel, which is a big, big plus. I'm just going to go back to open here, but remember that. I would highly recommend, just for that one reason alone, to move all your actions that you use a lot into the TK8 My Actions panel. Now remember, when you keep adding actions, this list will grow and grow and grow where you won't see all the actions anymore. But once it grows past this area here, a scroll bar will come up and you can scroll through all your actions. And the other nice thing I love about the My Actions panel is, look, all my actions are right here for me, right out here, front and center. That's really a great feature. Let me know in the comments section below what you think of the My Action panel. I'd really like to hear your thoughts. I'm pretty sure I covered everything I wanted to cover on the My Actions panel for now, but let me show you another new feature, and it deals with layer mask mode. So let me go ahead and do something I typically do. I'll be doing a small edit and showing you another new feature, but I don't want to jump ahead, but we're working with layer mask mode now. And one of the things I like to do when I start an image is come up to luminosity masks, and then I'll add like a mids 3. I'll put that to a color grading tool, and then I'll adjust my shadows, midtones, and highlights. But what I want to show you is, see the layer mask right here? Let's X out the color grading tool here for a sec. Let me go into layer mask mode, and here is the new feature. What we do is, if I wanted to change this out, right now it's on a mids 3, right? What if I wanted to put a mids 2 on it? I can click here. But here's the feature. It puts a green block around there. So anytime you press something and change that mask in layer mask mode, it's going to let you know what you clicked on. So there's like a lights 2 or a lights 4, I'm going to go back to a mids 3, but that's what I wanted to show you. Okay, so I'm going to X out of here. So that's a new feature in layer mask mode. Well, let me go ahead and adjust this. I'm going to click on the color grading tool, and I've made no adjustments yet. I'll start out with my shadows, and I'll drag my shadows back to right about here. Then we'll go to midtones, and then I'm going to drag it up to around here for the midtones. Now here's a little tip for you. You don't have to drag the slider all the time. You can just click it, and it'll go wherever you click it to. So sometimes that can be more convenient, but you can do the slide or the click, whatever you want. I want to warm up these midtones a little bit just on that hawk. I think it's a hawk, but it just warms that up a little bit. And now let's go into highlights. And I'm just going to click right here and change those highlights a little wee bit. Here is the before and here's the after, but I call this balance and contrast. I will have a PDF note out for you on this little edit I'm doing now. It'll be downloadable, and you'll find it in the description below the video. The next new feature is this: the ability to choose a color using the color picker is now available when running the color clone action found in the combo or CX modules. And I'll show you. And as I said, I'll have this PDF notes for you so you can see exactly what we're doing here. There's a few steps before we get to the color clone, but let's go here and click on subject. We'll select subject, which is the bird, and then we're going to go to selected mask. That brings us into the selected mask dialog here. I'll be using the refine edge brush tool and just going around the bird real quick here and seeing if it missed any sections here. Doesn't get that real well right there. I'm going to make my brush a little bit larger. Just clean up some of these areas here. To save a little bit of time, I sped up the video, and I'm just going to continue to clean up all around the edges of the bird, and hopefully I won't miss anything. If I do, I'll go back and fix it. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and output it to a selection. I have this on selection. Click OK. And now what I want to do is click this icon to save the selection. I'm just going to call this bird. Click OK. It saves it in my channels down here. I'm going to invert it by clicking this button right here. And now I'm going to save this out, and we'll call this sky. And click OK. And now I have a bird and a sky. I don't know what happened there. My image got larger. Next up, I'll go to my TK actions, open that up, and find color clone, which is right here. Click on that. And now this is the new feature where the color picker tool comes up. Do you see that? And I want to sample one of the colors in the sky, and I think right here. And now I want to give you a tip that I've got from Tony Kuiper, and he says when you're using the color cloning tool, he found to use it very effectively. You see right here, we have hue, saturation, and brightness. Brightness, he says, it's best to use a value between 25 and 50 for the best results. And when I was preparing this video, I found that 50 was good, so I'm just going to type 50 here, and then we're going to go ahead and click OK. The next step is to X out of the color grading tool so we can see our multi-mask panel. We want to click on My Channels. And now we want to click on sky. We want to output that to a selection. And now I'm going to make my brush rather large here. And this is another very important step, and that is to have your brush opacity at around 20%. So that was another thing that you want to keep a very low brush opacity. And now all we need to do is paint. We'll be cloning that color. Okay. Now that, again, that's a low opacity, right? So I might have to hit this several times. And I can go over the bird no problem, right? Because it's protected. It's black, right? So it's not going to get any of the adjustment. Now I'm lifting my brush. Every time I lift my brush, I'm putting another degree of that amount of paint down. So it's important. You don't see me lifting the brush, but I am lifting the brush and painting again. And the effect gets stronger and stronger as I go. So let's take a look. Here's the before and here's the after. But I think that looks so much better. I have one more thing I want to do, but first I want to get rid of my selection. Click this button on the CX or combo panel. That gets rid of your selection. Come up to My Channels and click on Sky again. We're going to output that to a color grading tool. I'm going to start with shadows, so click on the shadow block, and I want to really lighten up those shadows. Okay, something like that. Let's go to midtones. I want to lighten up the midtones a bit. Something like right around there. I want to take the color grading block and drag it down into the blue a little bit, just to add a little bit more blue in there. I think that looks really nice. And let's go to highlights. I'm just going to pull the highlights back just a tiny little bit like that and give them just a little bit of a blue color grade. Not too much. Maybe right about there. Now check it out. Here is the before the color grading and here is the after. So now I think that looks so much better. And now if I click my before and after action, we could take a look. Here's what it looked like before, and now here is the after. This was just a small little edit showing you the new upgrade to the color clone action, and you saw that we now have the picker lets us pick the color. So that's a nice update. And I also gave you some tips from Tony how to get the best usage out of the color clone tool. I saved that bird as a channel and I actually didn't need it after all. Oh well. If you need it for further editing, it is there for you. We're almost done, and this is another stock image that you can download. You'll find the link in the description below. Now, it's not a great image, and I'm just using this image to show you some new features with the paint color output on the multi-mask panel. And this new feature is also incorporated into the dodge and burn output. Now this first color grading layer, I have notes showing you how I did this. I'm not going to take the time to do that because I do this all the time. It's my balance and contrast. I do it on every image. Now if we look at my PDF notes, you can see there's the balance and contrast. So you can duplicate that just by following this note here. But I'm going to show you the original method of painting with color where you paint through a selection. And then I'm going to show you the updated version where you paint color on a pixel layer with a layer mask of the on-screen created mask. So that's what this is all about now. So here's what I'm going for. This area in the building right here, I would like to add a little bit more color to this area. So I'm going to use paint with color to do that. I'll start by clicking on the color mask icon here. And we're going to pick some of the color up in here. And we'll click OK. And now I just want to refine this, so I'm going to work with these circles here. I'm going to pull this one in, see if I can get a better selection. I'm going to pull this one in and see how that helps. And I think that's pretty good. I'm going to further refine with a levels adjustment, so click on this icon. And let's see if we can lighten up that whole area in there. And I think that looks pretty good right there. And now we're going to output that to paint color. This will paint through a selection, so we'll click this. And now I want more saturation, so I'm going to click right about here and click OK. And now I'll be painting through a selection. I'm going to paint with 100% opacity. Right now it's on 20. I'm going to type my 0 key on my keyboard. That goes to 100%, flows at 100%, and I have a very soft brush, 0% hardness. And I'm going to make a brush right around that size. And now I'm just going to start to paint in these areas here. Now I can vary my brush size as I go, make my brush a little smaller and get into some of these areas. And the feathering on the mask is going to give me a really nice selection in here. Okay, so I think that's going to be pretty good. Did I get down in here? Just making sure I got everything up in that corner there. Okay, if you'll recall, I was painting with 100% opacity, but I think it's too strong, but I'm going to take care of that with this opacity slider here. So I'm going to take it the whole way off and just add in what I think I need. And I think right around here, 34%, here is the before and here is the after. So just like that, that's taken care of. Now I'm going to show you how we can even fine tune this further. Let's make sure we deselect our selection. What we'll do is get a Hue Saturation Adjustment layer, so click right here. I want to clip it to the layer below, so click on this paper clip icon that clips it. And now we can further adjust like the hue. You see how we can change the hue, so we can kind of blend it and get it looking, to match a little bit better. Maybe somewhere around there. We can play with saturation here. Cut it back a little bit. It's just like a nice little fine tuning there. And so let's take a look. Let me shut this hue saturation off. Here's the before and here's the after. So I think it just blends in a little bit better. But that's a nice little tip. You can clip a hue saturation layer above that paint color layer and, get a further refinement. And now let's look at the change we made by clicking on this paint color layer. We'll click the eye and shut it off. That's before. It's subtle, and here is the after. Again, before and after. But I think the painting with color really helped improve the top of the building. And the last thing I want to do is show you the paint color with the new updated method. Now, both methods are good. I will say this, painting through a selection gives you more of an ability to get stronger saturation versus painting with a created mask, okay? And we're going to do it with a blank pixel layer and a created mask. We will not be painting through a selection. And what I want to do is just add a little more saturation to these plants. I don't know what they are. Kind of yellowish type plants. I'm going to bring up some of that saturation on those plants. To do that, I'm going to grab a color mask and sample some of the yellow tones up in here, maybe right here. Click OK. And now let's refine our mask here. I'm going to work with this top circle first, pull that in and see what I get. Yeah, I want to make sure I got all that. I want a lot of dark around there. Let's play with this one. Maybe something like that. Let's see if we can lighten it up. That's looking pretty good, and I think I like it. Now pay close attention here. This is where the update comes into play. Instead of just clicking on paint color, hold your Command or Control key down and click on that. And when you do, well, the color picker comes up and you need to pick a color. Now it remembers the color that I picked when I sampled that area, but I want to add more saturation, so I'm going to come over in this area right here and click OK. I think that'll be good. But now you'll notice I have a mask right here. In fact, if you want to see what that mask looks like, you can click this double arrow icon, and that's the mask. And I'll be painting right up on here. Now, I'm not painting through a selection. Let me click this again so we can see. And now I'm going to paint with 100% opacity on these plants. But if you recall, I showed you what that layer mask looked like when I clicked on that double arrow icon. But you notice that mask is selected. Now that's not going to be good. I need to go onto the pixel layer, so don't get fooled here. If you ever look at a mask and you want to paint on a pixel layer, make sure you go back and click on that pixel layer. It's important. And there's my color, so I can just paint that color on there. That's at 100%. And it's not too strong. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller and paint these guys in here. And I can be really loose how I paint that, okay? Paint it again one more time, but that's 100% opacity. But this layer mask is protecting it. Now, if I want that color stronger, I have no more opacity here, but check it out, I have fill. So watch, when I take this fill and drag it to the right, now it defaults at 15%. That's the way it's set up. But watch when I drag it to the right. You see how I can add a lot more saturation there if I wanted to. And that's too much, you know. I'm going to go back to 15%, but let's take a look. Look at the plants. Here's the before, and here is the after. Now, that may be too strong, so you could take this opacity and pull it back a little bit if you want to. But I'm just going to leave it up full so you can really see it. Here's the before, and here's the after. But I think that's a little too strong. But you get the idea. And again, I'm just showing you the new update here. When you paint on the pixel layer without going through a selection, by command clicking on that paint color, it outputs a layer mask here with the mask that you created. So that is the new update there on paint color. Now that holds true if you're using output to dodge and burn through a selection. If you command or control click, dodge, or burn, you will get the mask instead of painting through a selection. Now it's your choice, whichever method you prefer, either going through a selection or applying a layer mask and painting on a blank pixel layer. I think if you go through a selection, you have a little more leeway of building up a stronger effect. Well, there it is, everyone. We have the new TK8 My actions in this latest update version 1.2.2, and I showed you some of the new features. You know, I tried to go over most of the important things. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe, click that bell notification icon, and then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time, but until then, happy editing!